Hello there, my name is Bruce Rain from Braggers Creations and welcome to my live stream today. I apologise that I did not live stream last weekend. I'm busy doing stuff. I had stuff. I still have stuff, so I will probably have to keep this a reasonably short live stream, but nonetheless I have to do it, otherwise YouTube will forget who I am and we can't be having that happening. Hello to Jay from the House of Moth, who has been nagging me to live stream all week, and to be honest, I am sorry to have disappointed him because I would have liked to have done a live stream during the week, but things just didn't quite work out the way I had planned. That's life. Thomas Armstrong, hello. Jack68K. Jake Janoski, hello. Or is it Janoski? Probably more like Janoski. Joe is here. Hello, Joe. How are you? Trina is here. Who else we got? Steve is here. Hello, Steve. Have I overlapped Mike? Mike was live streaming some gameplay before, and he said he was going to finish before I started. And I said, "You go as long as you like. I really don't mind." But I'm just curious as to whether he is still gaming away. Apples Anonymous, hello. Patrick Pitts, hello. What's been going on? Well, a few things I probably need to follow up on. If we're looking at the Flux side of things, because as you know, I've just been the Flux guy for a while, I got back to Amtech about their Sample 88, which I have here, which I was lucky enough to try, and I said, look, you know, I gave them my genuine feedback about it, and there were two things. I said, I feel like it flies away too fast in the heat, but one of the problems we have is the fact that this is a flux being made with REACH compliance, so it's a less toxic sort of flux than some of the others. So there are going to be trade-offs. It's still an incredibly good flux. It really is. But you know, that was sort of one of my criticisms. The other criticism I had was that I felt like the scent was a little bit too overpowering. I felt like after a while I had that sweet smell up my nose, and it was just a little bit too much. So anyhow, I gave them my feedback, and although there's nothing they could really do about my first thing, they did say they can do something about the scent. So they produced this little guy, in this cute little 5cc syringe. They knocked out this little guy with 3/4 of the amount of scent in it to what the original Sample 88 has. And this is excellent. The smell is there. It's not overpowering. It's not a bad smell. It's a pleasant smell, but it's not overpowering. And so I've basically given them my feedback, and I said, look, I reckon this is the goer. So we'll see. I haven't heard back from them since I said that. I mean, I'm hopeful that they will listen to me and that, but we'll see. Sam, hello. CS Waffy, hello. See, I've said it right this time. Joe Williams, hello. Carthor. John Mortz, hello. I'm just reading the names. I'm not even reading what people are writing at the moment. Isn't that terrible? Let's have a look. Sweet smelling 88. Makes the shop smell nice. Yes, I would agree with that. Hello from Emily and Sam in Birmingham, Alabama. Hello there. Sorcerer Stan, hello. I dilute my 88 with peanut butter. Works better, smells better. Yummy. Well, it's interesting because I mentioned that to Justin Morgan during his stream yesterday, and he was in agreement. He felt like that it could do with some toning down of the scent. And so Steve is saying the same. So I will probably let them know that. I'll let them know that that I have had feedback from others which essentially say the same thing. I think this is probably what we'll end up seeing as the finished product, the V3 product. And yeah, it is a really good flux. So what I've got here is I've got my V2, I've got my ASM, I've got my Sample 88, I've got my original V2, which is interesting. It's getting darker. Color's actually changing. And then I've got this guy here, which is Chip Quick. So, you know, this is one that I really rate as well. Quite expensive for me to buy this one locally, but I can buy it locally. So this is sort of, let's call it an emergency backup if I run out of this stuff. But I'm not going to be running out of this stuff anytime soon. What else have I got to quickly mention here? Ultrasonic Cleaner, anyone who has been watching my Ultrasonic Cleaner videos, there is more to come. It's been a very interesting little journey when it comes to this Ultrasonic Cleaner. and some of the problems that I've been encountering. I've found out a lot, and I've been trying different ultrasonic drivers. Ones like, so these are the old ones, like this, and there's a new one. Is this a new one? Yeah. And these are the new ones. So you can see the new ones are blue, and they're a slightly different shape, and they're made quite differently. Interestingly, the new ones, they've got a like a single component bridge rectifier, whereas on these the bridge rectifier is 4 diodes there. I don't know, for some reason this just makes me feel like it's a more polished product that they're using a single component bridge rectifier. I like the fact that this has labeling on it to show where power in and power out are. On this there is no labeling. Well, there is, but it's not in my language. So you've got to make sure you get these plugged in the right way around, or you could have some exciting times. These ones are soldered better. They're cleaned afterwards. They just feel like a more polished product. The board design is, it actually says on it, KMD K2 Y100 version 5. I don't know why, but for some reason something being version 5 comforts me. It means that it's been through several revisions in the first place, and they're actually making it better each time. So I really do like that. Still having problems, but I know what the problems are now. So yeah, that's comforting, and I will be doing that in my follow-up video, where I'm basically talking about what I'm doing to make this guy more reliable. So that's that. I put a lot of gross stuff in my ultrasonic cleaner, but I draw the line at peanut butter. Yeah. I just got off from a 10-hour work day. Well, that's no good, Vintage Hillbilly. That's terrible. I mean, you know, what is it? It's Friday there, though, isn't it? So you can, you know, hats off, you know, you can throw the tie away and, you know, let your hair down. Drill bit. Don't know why that's there. Quadrant 840 AV is version 28. Does that help? Have you got back to that, Steve? I mean, you know, it seems like you're just so darn close with that. Incidentally, I do apologise that I'm doing an SE30 and you were doing an SE30 in your last stream, Steve. It's just sort of how these things arrive more than anything. What I should really be doing today is... Sorry, I used someone else's hand sanitizer. It smells like... what's that stuff called? Old Spice. So I smell like sort of Granddad's house now. It is happier. Well, that's good. Yeah. So I've got what I really should be doing, and we'll see how we go for time afterwards. I really should be dealing with some of the problem jobs. Just need to invest some time in them, but I generally try and keep the real problem ones away from the live streams, because what ends up happening is I end up having to go through schematics, I end up having to think about things and test things out and all that, and it can end up getting a little bit on the dull side. I get an SE30 like this, I can just come in like a steam train and just knock all these caps off and stick new caps on, and in theory we should be straightforward. This one actually looks really tiny, not like that scungy one that Steve was working on the other day. This is the later revision of SE30 with the non-socketed chip there, and it's not the one with the gold on it. This one's just sort of the old kind of black and grey sort of colour. And the other big difference on this board is this little capacitor here. Hello, little capacitor. On this revision of the board, he's on this side of the ROM sim. On the other revision of the board, he's on that side of the ROM sim. He's down in this corner here. So we've got these, you know, sort of fairly notable differences between these boards. So this is the newer one, but you know, essentially recapping, it's still the same. It's all the same components on, you know, it's the same capacitors on there, so that'll all be the same. I don't even know if this one works. I haven't tested it. I'm not going to test it. I'll only test it after I finish, but I can see some gunk on it. It'll definitely benefit from a bit of a clean. Rudy is here. Hello there. Welcome. Old Spice is your regular deodorant, isn't it? Ooh, yeah, so Wednesday of my work week. Okay, so you work a different block of weeks. Okay, well, it's hump day then. So that's worth a celebration. Crack open a beer or a wine or a spirit of some description or a fortified wine, something, yeah. Okay. May you have good luck with your SE30. May I indeed, I do hope. All right, okay, so what are we looking at here? Why is this telling me there are updates available? I don't want to update, so go away. Go away, away. Shh. Okay, so 10 minutes in, and I've done nothing. So let's see if we can rectify that. I've got, what, about 25 people watching, 5 likes. I think that calls for a...
Smash that like button.
There we go. That's exciting, isn't it? Okay, so, all right. Let's see if we can get rolling with this. So I'm just going to change views here to the top view so you can see what this board looks like from the top. Isn't that pretty? It's very pretty. One of the great things about the SE30 is the fact that it's got a floating point unit built in, and of course it's got our lovely processor direct slot, which allows you to connect display adapters or networking, and of course 8 SIM slots, which allows you to take this up to a maximum of 128 megabytes, and that is pretty awesome for a little compact Mac. It's one of the reasons why the SE30 is so popular, and one of the reasons why I end up having to work on so many of them, because everyone wants one. Everyone's just like, look, hey, look at that. Look in the corner. Hang on, there we go. There it is. Just there in the corner, just below me. It's down there. Has everyone got themselves a good multimeter? Because if you haven't, and you're on a budget, I recommend you go out and get yourself a Kaiweets KM601 multimeter. You'd do a lot worse, I can tell you that. You could have one like Steve's that swears at him all the time. And he gets really mad at it as well. You should watch his live streams and see just how angry Steve gets at his multimeter. It's quite amusing. Okay, better switch things on and do some stuff. I need a recommendation before I buy. Well, I'll tell you what. If you go on and check out my review video, you'll find that in my featured videos on my channel. You'll see me putting the Kaiweets KM601 through its paces. Hello, Joe. If you can find 16 megabyte SIMs, are they hard to find? I've got heaps of them. Oh, you need more? Yes, yeah. Well, they do cost money. That's for sure. It's funny because I had this idea of, I'd get all my 16s together and put them all in my Quadro 950, because the Quadro 950 has actually got 16 slots. So you can take the Quadro 950 up to 256 megabytes of RAM, which is wild. I mean, I did do that for a customer once back in the day, and it cost them thousands of dollars. But that's another story. Apart from the novelty component of having a Quadro 950 with 256 megabytes of RAM, I really couldn't see the logic behind it. I couldn't really think of anything I would be able to do with it that would actually be worth having that RAM there. So I've got, I think, 128 in that, and then I took the other 8 out, and I've got some in my SE30, I think, and I've got some in my SI, 2SI, I think. Is it kind of hard to require? Okay, oh, that's no good. Eric's Edge, hello there. I am so behind on your videos, Eric. I've got to go back and have a sort of a Eric kind of, what is it? What do they call it? Viewathon sort of thing. Get out of it! Out! Sorry, pigeons. Pigeons trying to get to the chicken food. Not trying to get to the chicken food. Pigeons getting to the chicken food. Okay. Shady Robot, did I say hello to you? If I didn't, apologise. Hello. Sam Johnson, hello. Oz Retrocomp, hello. Okay, no, well, I haven't really got a camera that I can easily spin around to the pigeons, so they're gone now anyway. I chase them away. If you own chickens, you're going to end up with pigeons hanging around. It's as simple as that. It's virtually unavoidable, because if you are going to have any situation, unless, of course, you keep the chickens permanently in a closed-off cage, which I don't. The chickens have a coop that they get locked up in at night, but then during the day they free range in a section of the backyard, which of course is open. And the minute I open up the coop to let the chickens out, pigeons just pour in there and grab whatever food has been left behind, and yeah, it's just unavoidable. Still working on the next HyperCard module. What is that? Why do I feel like I'm not alone here? We have a bit of a mouse problem here, not just here, but in like Australia at the moment. There's this pretty horrendous mouse issue. Yeah, so I get mice in the shed here. Chickens locked up because of avian flu? No, the chickens get locked up at night because of foxes and other predators and stuff like that. So it's mainly for their own protection. Having said that, we've never seen a fox here, but there are foxes in Sydney, quite prevalent. I know other people that have actually had chickens killed by foxes, so basically lock them up for their own protection. And in terms of the enclosure they're kept in, it's a very big enclosure, but I can't just let them free range because they destroy lawns, they poop everywhere, they could probably even get out actually out onto the street. They start off just staying in one area, but day after day they get a little bit more adventurous, and the next thing you know, they're in the neighbour's lawn. So, yeah. Poor little Bernie. Bernie gone. I have cats. I don't know that they even know how to kill mice, to be honest. And actually, the truth is they're indoor cats, so they're not likely to find any mice unless they actually go, unless the mice went inside. And the mice would be pretty damn stupid to do that. Okay. We had our neighbour's chickens killed by foxes. Yep. Yeah, it happens. It definitely happens. All right. We're not getting anywhere here, me just talking about chickens. Let's change across here to a nice, fancy microscope view. And check out SOC30. So I'm going to have to get rid of all these caps. As people who watch my streams know, the way I like to do it is with a hot air station. There'll be a lot of people that will say, no, you're better off doing it with soldering tweezers, or you should twist and pull, or whatever the case may be. SE30, I would recommend to anyone. If you're going to do the twist method, I really wouldn't. Just too easy for those pads to come away. This is a 30-year-old computer. Some people will argue that because it's old, they'll actually come away easier. And they may be right, but as I say, I have ended up having to repair other people's computers where they've torn pads off from the twist and pull method, so I'm not going to use that method. Now, looking at this one here, you'd have to say I'm feeling pretty lucky. There's a little bit of blackening down around here. I just pulled off a capacitor there, by the way. Oh, wow, what's going on here? Got a nice little bit of blackening there. I wouldn't be at all surprised if this computer, if it does work, has absolutely no sound, because we've definitely got some juicy corrosion there. So here's the really interesting thing about chickens and foxes and stuff like that. At the end of the day, chickens are actually quite good at defending themselves. I mean, like we have cats wandering around here. I mean, the cats are never going to have a go at the chickens because, I mean, they are flappy and beaky and claws and stuff like that. Chickens are quite good at defending themselves. But because of the way chickens evolve, they have no night vision. None. They are as blind as anything. I won't say as blind as a bat, because bats aren't blind. But they are blind at night. They can't see anything at all. They are just 100% vulnerable at night time. And at night time, yeah, anything can get them. Yeah, they're very vulnerable. So, okay, let's pluck off a few caps here. So these are these axial caps, which you can probably get away with not replacing if you are lazy, or couldn't be bothered, or don't have the replacement caps, but I am going to replace them. Going to be getting these off with hot air, but I do like to try and protect as many components as possible from the hot air, because otherwise we end up with solder balls. What happens is you end up with this crusty old solder, and the outer layer doesn't melt. It's beyond that. It's not going to melt anymore. It's too much crust. So what happens is underneath the crust, it melts there, it expands, and it pushes little solder balls through the crust. And so if you get too much heat on a lot of these old components, you can end up with solder balls going everywhere. Now, of course, they can be cleaned off and all that sort of stuff, but you just have to keep that in mind. I do try and protect these things from the heat. The heat. I need some shorter ones of these. I can only find my long ones at the moment. These are the heat shields that I use, which are basically just blades from those clicky blade, what do you call those things? Box cutters. But they don't look like that anymore because they've got so corroded they're now all brown. They started off silver. Emus are big birds. They're actually the second biggest bird in the world. Second biggest species of bird, second only to the what do you call that thing? The ostrich. I think next after that's like the cassowary or something like that. I'm not sure, but System 8 model, SE30. You need at least 16 megabytes of RAM. Can I get away with 10 temporarily? Couldn't tell you. Never done it. Someone else might be able to tell you in the chat. In my opinion, it's just my opinion, running System 8 on an SE30 is just going to be a nightmare. In all honesty, I think even 7.5 is a nightmare. I run System 7.1 on mine. For me, it's that balance of speed and functionality. So, my internet is acting up. Why, Rudy? Why? Oh, construction around the block. Fair enough. Cassowaries are evil, yeah. If you have never seen what a cassowary's claw looks like, Google it. They are an amazing bird. They kill people. They rip their guts open, so it's not good. Have you met a cassowary? I've seen them in zoos. I've never actually seen one in the wild. If I did see one in the wild, I'd bloody run the other way. Not run the other way. I would not threaten it, I guess, is the most important thing. That's the main thing. You don't want to be threatening a cassowary, because when they are threatened, they get really aggressive. They're like a velociraptor. Woo, we got a popper. Captain, she's about to blow. There's nothing I can do. There we go. It's amazing how, you know, it still makes you flinch even when you know you've got like that much microscope between you and the exploding cap. You still go, ugh. Ouch. Run away, run away. Yeah, I got to tell you that these are pretty stinky. We all know that capacitors are smelly. Woo! Another one. This one's very poppy today, isn't it? See all the little solder balls? Look at them all squeezing their way out of the sponge. And you know, you end up with these getting jammed in places, and then your computer won't work. I do try and avoid it. This is the old U8 row. It's, what is it? UA8, UB8, UC8, UD8, UE8, UF8, and UG8. And common areas of problem. Yes, sirree. What do we got here? We've got ourselves a nice little crystal oscillator. He is not the one for the real-time clock. The one for the real-time clock's down here. Right there, next to the real-time clock. Beep, beep. I've got a whole stack of those real-time clocks chips as a replacement, which is great to have. I didn't think they were able to be got, but they were, so I got some. God, cat has gone to watch a lightning storm. Look. Okay. Just keeping an eye on the chat, just making sure. Oh, we've got a little bit of blackening here. Going to have a little bit of work. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to stick a little bit of Kapton tape on this connector. I can just see it getting melted. So I get a little bit of this Kapton tape, and I'm just going to slot it down here next to this plastic, bit of protection, and then I'll put the heat shield in between that. Just giving that extra layer of protection. Whee! Sorry. When I have a row of caps, I always like to do them one after the other, because the board gets hot and it means the next one comes off easier than the first one. Definitely going to need some cleaning around here. We've had about a 80% pop rate on this board. I like them odds. Okay, we have got 3 caps left to remove. There are quite a few caps on this board. Anyone who's not familiar with the old SE30, I think if you are a Mac collector, you know, a vintage Mac collector, you know of the SE30, whether you have one or not. If you are a compact Mac collector, it's one of the must-haves. I consider, if you are a compact Mac collector, you know, SE30 is probably right up on the list of some of the ones to get first. I mean, yes, we all want the original 128K, but the problem with the 128K, you can't really do much with it because it's only got 128K. But an SE30, I mean, you can do stuff with. I mean, you can sit there and play Civilization on an SE30. It's in black and white, and it's kind of hard to differentiate one player from the next, but you can do it. Just going to get a few heat shields around here because we've got the battery holder and we've got the PDS slot, and I always try and avoid melting anything. This board belongs to one of my customers. His name is Luke. Luke, if you're watching either now or later on, hello to you. He's given me an SE with no, where the ADB port doesn't work, and this SE30. I think there was meant to be a classic coming as well. It might already be here. I'll have to check. I've got lots of stuff here at the moment. No, I don't think it is. Oh yeah, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I'm looking for another heat shield, and I'm not finding one. It is not forthcoming. Can I do this without melting? Let's see. No. Not safe. It's not safe. So I need to find more heat shields. And what can we use as a heat shield? How about a piece of paper? No, maybe not. Here we go. Here we go. I've got some aluminum. That's better. That's better. Is that the serial number going? Yep, that's the serial number going. Stupid serial number. I'm going to spin this board around. I banish thee from the board. There we go. Aluminium. Sorry, I dropped something on the floor. And I'm trying to pick it up with tweezers. Got it. Tornado. Where was the tornado? Currently winning an auction from an Australian seller for an external Amiga floppy drive. Oh, I wish that I wasn't. I really need to give. I really need to sell my my Amiga 500. I just have no use for it. I wanted to experience an Amiga. I wanted to try it out and play with it, and I have to admit I was pretty impressed in many ways with the Amiga, but I just don't use it, and it's just taken up space, and I just feel like there's going to be someone out there who is an Amiga enthusiast that would get a lot more from it than me. Ooh, pop. See if I can catch one of these pigeons and I can show it to you. Nearly got that one. Michigan. That's no good. Nasty, nasty. Okay, I better hide my tracks here and cut some of this melted serial number off. Bum, 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 bum. Ouch. I just touched a hot capacitor with my finger. Ouchie. Begone. Get a pigeon care. Yeah, I mean, seriously, all they'd have to do is set it up here at the where the chicken food is, and you would be getting some shots of pigeons. Yeah, they're pests here. You know, they're introduced. So, having said that, the pigeons here, the local ones, they're really healthy because they're eating very good quality chicken food. Right. So I'm going to start here in this little cluster. Oh, you know what? I'm going to take the things out first. What do you call those things? You know, the things next to the things, just up by the things there. The pins from the axial caps. I'm going to get those out. So the way I always do these is I cut the capacitor off and then I pull the pins out with a little bit of heat here from soldering iron. Constantly getting, well, I see people asking this question all the time, saying, oh, I'm applying my soldering iron, but it's not getting hot, it's not getting hot. Why? How come it's not getting hot? One of the really important things when you're working with the soldering iron is making sure you get the heat transfer, getting from one place to the other. Now, if we look at the tip of my iron next to this piece of wire, I've got a very small surface area on it. It's tiny. It's just the point where those two pieces of metal make contact. If you're actually trying to get a little bit more surface area contact, you can get solder like this. And what happens is that solder is now wrapped around that pin rather than just making a small piece of contact. So you've got a much larger area making contact with that pin, applying heat to that pin, which gets a lot more heat to it, and then you can get it out. Now, of course, I'm demonstrating this on the one that is attached to a whopping great ground plane, and so this one is actually really hard to get out because of the fact that all the heat gets sucked away. But I still have confidence that I'll get it out. Come on. Thank you. Dag nabbit. I need some wick. Clean the tip, most important. I'm cleaning it. I'm cleaning it right now. It's clean. It's clean. It's clean now. It's clean. It's clean. And I've just melted a little bit of wire. It doesn't matter. Okay, so I might just get a little bit of flux onto here. Let's take my pick on which flux to use. I've got some V2 here because that's the one my hand just landed on. This is the new Formula V2. I can tell from the colour of it. Oh, has anyone noticed that smoke going straight up into my face? Guess what that means? That means I don't have a fume extractor on. Gots to have a fume extractor. See how easy that one was? This one's not stuck on a whopping great big ground plane. This solder will come out easier as well. Just like that. Yeah, just like that. Just going to clean the top of it. How much for the Amiga? That's a good question. I have no idea. I've got no idea what they're worth, but whatever it is, we'll be able to work something out for sure. Okay, let's get the solder out of this one. This is one of the most common asked questions I get as well, is how do you get solder out of a hole that's got solder in it like that? Some it's very, very easy. You just use a little bit of wick and a bit of flux and out it comes. Other ones that are harder, like this, that are attached to a ground plane, it's difficult to get heat all the way through the hole. One of the things I would always recommend is make sure you get fresh solder in there. So we're wanting to make sure that we've got new solder in there with the old solder. If you've got some low temperature, I've got to buy that low temperature solder. Yeah, low temperature solder, low melting point solder is also very good for this. But I've added some new solder. We'll see if that does it. If that doesn't do it, we'll try some other tricks. No. It's not coming, is it? Nope, not coming. So that's one. The other is we can get a much bigger iron. At the moment I've got this size one. I can get a great big fat one, so I've got way more heat there, and that's likely to pull it out. Another thing you can do is use the old solder, who's the thingy, what's these things with the things? What are they called? Solder pins? I can't remember what they're called. Needles, solder needles. And you can get one of these, you can place it in the hole here, and then just apply some heat. Make sure that you were virtually turning this solder needle into a soldering iron sort of thing. When we get it hot, I might need a little bit more solder on here so I can get some heat transfer. You could use a hot air station, of course, like this. There we go, we're through. So I basically poked a hole through using a stainless steel thing. Yes, it's not actually lead inhalation. Lead doesn't get into a fume form until it gets much hotter than it is at the moment. All of those lovely smoky yumminess, that's all just flux. Okay. What? Good Lord. I think the mouse that I have in here might be Mighty Mouse. Just knocked over something quite large. Where's the bloody hole? There it is. Oh, that's fine. Okay, I don't need to do any more on that. So let's just get, let's get into focus. Hey, get some focus, people. You all need some focus. There we go. Current time in Australia, please, anyone. It is 11:38 a.m. in Sydney. It's a lot earlier than that in Western Australia, but in Sydney, it is 11:30. So right down the east coast at the moment, we're all 11:38. Adelaide in the middle, they're half an hour out. And then Western Australia, Perth over there, they're 3 hours away from us at the moment. So 11, it'll be, what, 8? 9, 10, 11? Or is it 2 hours? I can't remember. Any Australians who are watching at the moment, happy federal election day. Oopsie. Today is the day we all exercise our democratic right and vote in the federal election. Go and grab ourselves a democracy sausage. Australians will know what I'm talking about when I say that. It's nice and easy. Voted last week. Yeah, a lot of people voted early this time around. It's funny, isn't it? I don't know. I like to actually go out on the day. My wife doesn't. She gets mad at me. We should have voted before. But I actually like to go out and vote on the day. Ruggers Customs, hello. Dave's here, hello Dave. Douglas Adams' birthday is on the 24th. Yes, poor old Douglas Adams. Funny man. I have to confess, when it comes to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I would much prefer watch the BBC series than watch the movie that came later on. Where are we? Okay, what flux are we going to use today? Well, let's try... Whoopsie. Okay. Sneeze. Excuse me. Okay, so... I'll tell you what I'm going to use for cleaning. I'm going to use my my V2, the V2 that I don't like as much. This is the one with the terpene smell. See how it gets kind of lumpy? This was essentially why they ended up changing this formula. It gets a little lumpy and crystallized. Oh, excuse me. Horst, hello there. I've got to send you a SCSI 2SD PowerBook. It's built. I haven't tested it yet, but it is built and cleaned and ready to go, as in all the flux is cleaned off it. I just need to test it and then send that off to you, because that is yours. I did an order for components the other day to Mouser, and then I suddenly realised after doing the order that I forgot to buy some things. And that's annoying. And then to buy some capacitors to recap these lights. And they've got capacitors that are just bulging out and leaking all over the place. I need to buy myself a... what are they called? Is it LCR meter? I think that's it. I've got to get myself one of those. Cleaning. These ones are coming up quite well, considering how crusty they were. What's my favourite Australian holiday? Not sure I have a favourite, to be honest. Any day for a day off. You know, any excuse for a day off is good with me. The advantage with Easter is, of course, we get 2 days off. So I have a 4-day weekend. That's pretty damn nice. I shouldn't say damn nice for Easter, should I? There's probably some sort of rule against that. Scalpel. Slap it in there. Scalpel. Alright, I might just clean this up a bit first. With my toothbrush. This is my toothbrush. Here it is. Here's a toothbrush. It's not the toothbrush, but it's a toothbrush. I need to buy some more toothbrushes, actually. As if you have a real job, you get 2 days off. Yeah, this is very true. I mean, I guess the thing is that, I mean, I could choose to work on those days because I'm self-employed, but most of my customers are off work. All of my customers are off work. So I take the time off as well, because I know that I'm not going to get badgered by them on those days. Just cleaning away any blackness here. When you see this blackening going on here, that's, you know, that's corrosion on the copper. And we just need to see that all gone. Very important. This one is actually in really, really good condition. I mean, normally around this area, you'd be seeing lots and lots and lots of blackened traces. But it's really not bad on this one at all. There's usually a trace that runs along here. Like this one here, it runs along there. That's usually blackened. And then I think is it this one? This one here, or one of these ones that runs along there, comes up here. There's usually a blackened trace there, but not on this one. I'm not complaining. This one's a little bit blackened. We have to scrape it until we see no more black. We have to scrape it until all we're looking at is nice, shiny copper. Okay. Oh dear. Sorry, I was just laughing at Horst's comment there. That's the sort of thing that like my wife and I say to each other when we say something like that, and we go, "Oh my God, racist!" Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully, I don't think I'm even going to need any UV mask here, because I don't think I've got any of the copper exposed in sort of those kind of volatile locations right near a pad from the component. God, I'm sneezy today. Must be something to do with the weather. Okay. Right, so we want to get all of these little bits of exposed copper now coated with a little bit of solder. And the way I'll do that, I mean, depending on how bad they are, if they're really ugly, I'll just get some solder like this and I'll do a bit of this, get them all coated, and then I clean them up with the wick afterwards. Like this. And then so we get the wick. Oops. Oh no, that one's nearly finished. And we do this, and we just make it so it's thin layer. Incidentally, it's raining here again in Sydney, because that's what it does here in Sydney. Frickin' rains all the frickin' time, thanks to our good friend La Nina. Apparently La Nina is starting to run out of steam, and we will see the weather sort of stabilise. I'm not sure how much of a comfort that is to people in Queensland at the moment, who are about to apparently face even more flooding. Oh joy, oh joy. Luke F. Have you ever replaced the reefer caps on a Mac Classic analog board? Any suggestions on the right type to replace them? Exact replacements seem rare. I am not sure what the rating is on them. So one of the things with those reefers on the analog boards of the classics is they crack. They all seem to crack. I have never come across a classic analog board that doesn't have cracked reefer caps on it. But they don't seem to blow up like the old papery ones. These ones, they crack and then they just work and they stay cracked. So I would say if the only issue you have is the fact that they have a crack in them, you can probably just get away with leaving them. If you are, hell-bent on removing them and replacing them, I haven't got one here, I don't think, so I can't look at it. But I can probably find a suitable replacement. And the main thing is that with them, if they're a Class X, you need to make sure you replace them with a Class X, X2, whatever. If it's an X, if it's an X, it needs to be replaced with an X. If it's a Class Y, it needs to be replaced with a Class Y. You need to obviously have the same capacitance. Check the spacing of the leads, because that's actually another thing with safety caps, making sure the wires are the correct distance to going into the hole there. And then obviously the voltage. With those ones, they're probably 250 volt, I would think, 250 or 300 volt AC. That would be my guess. But yeah, I would need to have a look in order to find one. But yeah, as long as they're safety caps, they don't have to replace them with reefer brand. Just have to make sure they're safety caps. And if they're Class Y, replace with Class Y. If they're Class X, replace with Class X, or X2 or Y2. Sydney's weather sounds similar to Seattle, Washington. The thing is that Sydney's not always like this. We've got to remember that like 3 years ago, 2019 or something, we had the most horrendous drought. I mean, it was, and bushfires. It was just the whole place was a tinderbox. But yeah, we've had this La Nina thing, and it has just dumped rain on the east coast of this country constantly. It's just been raining for such a long time. The truth of the matter is, Horst, you can actually whip them out and not have them there at all, and the computer will still work. A lot of people end up doing them. They just take the reefers out and just run them without them. Yeah, I mean, look, I've never even bothered to replace one in the Classic or Classic 2. Never seen any fail. They just crack. Yep, polymers are the best replacement. Or what are the other ones? There's another sort. I can't remember what they're called though. Okay. Yeah, gotta love the old reefer smell. It was funny, I was working on a computer once, and I was too busy doing something to notice that the reefers were gradually exploding in front of me. I had the thing here and I'm just sort of testing and doing things. And I didn't even get time to get my camera out because my Maciac friends, hello to the Maciac guys, love obviously footage of things blowing up. So anytime something blows up, we always try and capture it so we can send it to each other and laugh. Okay, I'm getting this really clean because I'm thinking I may end up putting a little bit of UV mask on here. And the board needs to be spotless before you do that because otherwise you will end up, the stuff just won't adhere. The areas that I am concerned about, I will show you as I paint them. Here, oops, ugly paintbrush. I just want to get a little bit more coating onto here and here and here, because this is where the pin from the tantalum cap is wider than the original pin of the what do you call that, of the electrolytic cap. And so we want to make sure when that pin, because that pin's wider and it hangs over on the other side, just want to make sure it's not going to come in contact with anything. And some of these traces here look like the UV mask has been worn down a little bit by my cleaning and rubbing and all that sort of stuff. I have to commend the guy, Luke, who owns this, saying, how did you get your hands on such a clean SE30 board? Ay caramba. So there's green stuff here. If anyone is unfamiliar with the product, it is called UV solder mask. You can buy it on eBay or AliExpress or wherever you like. If you just search for UV solder mask, it comes in a syringe. I then transfer it into a little metal container. And it cures under UV light. And I'm going to prove that now by pointing my UV laser at the UV mask here and making it go solid. Hulk snot. Anyone looking forward to that new show coming out called She-Hulk? A 10 nanofarad Y class. Oh, there's bound to still be some around, I would think. I would be very surprised if you can't get that. I've actually got a whole container of safety caps here somewhere. I've used green nail polish in the past to cover battery damage after I clean it. Yep, nail polish I think will probably work fine. I actually have a type of, I've got this stuff here. Oh, excuse me. This is, sorry, the container's a little bit on the dirty side. Got this stuff here. It looks just like red nail polish. It smells like red nail polish. It behaves like red nail polish. But it was bought as, you know, it's a coating, some sort of conformal coating. But when I use it, it's quite thick, you know, and that can be very handy. Where I use it is where I want something to work perhaps as a thread locker or something to hold something in position externally. And so you can paint that on there and it holds it in there. And so if you wanted to make sure a screw didn't come undone, you can paint that on the outside there and then it holds it in position. And then, you know, you can then crack it off with a screwdriver if you need to. Now you might say, well, why not just use thread locker? Well, there are times where thread locker works very well, but most thread lockers, they are anaerobic, so it means they dry by being starved of oxygen. So you put them on the end of the screw, you screw the screw in, there's no oxygen down there, and then it cures. And that's all great. But sometimes you want a thread locker to be visible. You want it to actually, you know, you want to paint it on the outside to indicate that this thing has been locked in position. They can sometimes be quite important, you know, sort of in other words, like if it's something that has been aligned and it needs to be at a particular distance, you might put that on there to indicate to someone that that screw has actually been locked into a specific position. And the advantage of this stuff is that you can put it on the outside and it will just dry in air rather than drying when it's starved of air. So, God, I hope that all made sense, because it just sounded like I was talking nonsense for a second there. You can see this stuff is starting to dry. It's not as shiny anymore. It's got more of this matte finish. Hi, Matt. Looking good, looking good. I have to make sure that I don't leave any black traces uncleaned, because otherwise I will cop the full wrath of Jay from the House of Moth. He just will not let me get away with doing anything half-assed. Okay, so a little bit more cleaning here. I'm going to keep using my V2. Which one is it? The V2? Yeah, it's the darker stuff. Yeah. Oh yeah. All the crystalline stuff. Here we go. Yes, there is a brand of thread locker here called Loctite as well. And Loctite don't just make thread locker, they also make adhesives, they make epoxies, they make super glue. Shush! They make the super glue, you know, whatever that chemical is called, which I can't remember the name of it. That is super glue. I just buy the cheapest super glue out there rather than buying a fancy one, because the containers always end up, you know, the lids end up getting glued on, and it's like, oh, you just throw the container away and get another one. I buy them like this. I show ye. I buy it like that. So, you know, I just always keep a packet of these handy, because I use super glue a lot. How much? A lot. That's it. Far out. Cyanoacrylate. I used to be able to say that fast. What's going on with my brain? Jared Berber, hello. Okay. Let's clean some of this away here. We'll expose some nice shiny copper. Yeah, it's so much better. Cyanoacrylate. Cyanoacrylate? That stuff. You know it. You all know it. You don't need to hear me say it. Benjamin Dressler, hello. Oh, that's very nice of you to say, Vintage Hillbilly. Gorilla Glue Epoxy. I think at the end of the day, look, I could be wrong about this, but I think with a lot of those epoxies, I suspect most of them are fairly the same. So there are 3 different types of epoxy that I keep in this house. I keep JB Weld, which of course, you know, is an epoxy, and I'm sure everyone here is aware of that. I keep a high strength epoxy and a 5-minute epoxy. And a 5-minute epoxy just starts curing a lot quicker. But always got to have glues in the house. Always, always, always. Or adhesives. People get funny when you call epoxies glues, apparently. It's never bothered me, but it clearly bothered some people after my ultrasonic cleaner video. I've got a moth on me. Are you a live moth or a dead moth? Oh no, it's a piece of a moth. Boop, 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 boop. Boop, 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 boop. SE30, yourself servicing the floppy drive. Nice one. Yep, the old... are you replacing the eject cog, I assume? That's... I mean, they of course need a good clean, but the old eject gear, what a nightmare. I've just always considered, at the end of the day, glue is something that sticks one thing to another, and a glue can then be broken down into different types. So, you know, you can have contact adhesives, and you can have you know, sort of epoxy, and so I just always consider there's glue, and then there's different types of glue. That's how I've always seen it, and that's the way I'm going to keep doing it, no matter what anyone says. So, tweezers, pleases. Tweezers, pleases. Anyway, found some. Just when I need to do some cleaning of something very fine, I grab a little bit of cotton off the end of a Q-tip, or cotton bud as we call them here, and I wrap it around the end of my tweezers like this. Oh, I didn't do a very good job of it. And then wipe like that. Because obviously if I tried to do it with a Q-tip, it's very big. You do you. I'll do me. I'm having fried chicken for dinner tonight. Really looking forward to that. I'm going to make some coleslaw though. I'm going to duck out a little bit later on and grab some cabbage and stuff to make the coleslaw. For me, the secret to making a really, really good coleslaw is make the sauce. Don't buy the coleslaw dressing. Don't buy the dressing from somewhere pre-made. Make your own coleslaw dressing, and you know, go hard. Don't skimp. And the other thing is, of course, make sure you get it made well before you want to eat it, because what happens is the dressing softens the cabbage in the coleslaw, and so it becomes much nicer to eat, much more pleasant to eat, much more flavour if it's been made well in advance, some hours in advance of when you want to eat it. Cooking tips today from Brankus Creations. Gregory Brady, hello there. I've heard acetone with a little white ABS dissolved in it to thicken it can work well. What adhesive do people find work well with ABS plastic in computer cases, OC cases? So, one of the things I have done before, so a couple of things there. Epoxies do work quite well with those sorts of plastics, because you can actually, you know, you can get quite a thick epoxy, which will allow you to build almost like a buttress to, you know, because if you've got two pieces of thin plastic you're trying to join together like that, you've got this incredibly small surface area where the 2 points meet. And what it's better is if you can on the other side, so not on the front side but on the back side, build almost like a buttress on the back there so you get more surface area. So if you maybe just glue those 2 points together with whatever you use, even if it's just like super glue or something like that, once they're together, then lay it down and build a sort of a layer of stuff on the back, so you get more of a kind of a buttress going there to hold it together. And for those, you know, things like epoxies work very well. And of course the other thing I often use is super glue mixed up with bicarb of soda, which creates a glue clump stuff thing. I don't know what you'd call it. But it becomes quite solid, quite hard. You can even like sand it down if you want to. Mike Wheat, is that how I say your name? I'm going to ask you about your experience with Amiga, if any, and how do you feel about the potential developments with PyStorm being adapted to something similar for Macintosh? Well, I have to confess, I'm really not up with the Amiga side of things, although I've recapped a few 600s and 1200s, and I don't mind doing so. I have very little experience with Amiga. I was actually just saying earlier in the stream that I've got an Amiga 500, which I plan to sell because I just think someone else will get more pleasure from it than I will. But so I don't really. Someone did talk to me about PyStorm, but I've forgotten which one it is. There are so many different projects at the moment. Is that the one? Is that the one where you can get it to completely emulate a CPU or something like that? I can't remember. Someone might need to refresh my memory on what a PyStorm is. Just finished a washing load and my wife left the tissue in enclosed again. Oh, doesn't it drive you mad? I know. My wife does that from time to time, but she hasn't in a long time, so. Oh, Rudy's back. Justin's here. Hello. I was just talking about you before. What was I saying? What was I saying? I can't remember. It'll come to me. Never mind. I did say it. It's already been said. The words have already come out of my mouth. They've been recorded for posterity, but I can't remember what it was. I'm not talking to you, for goodness sake. Emulate CPU and Amiga provides 128 megas of RAM, hard disk. Oh, cool. The one thing that really got me with the Amiga when I use it for the first time, Amiga 500, so pretty slow. You know, you've got to have your expectations set accordingly. But I got hold of a stack of Amiga games and a whole stack of arcade Amiga games, and I was just so impressed with like the quality of the graphics and everything of those arcade games that were on it. It's like, wow, this is really good. It was just impressive. I was impressed. Mind you, I'm pretty easily impressed. Worldwide Macintosh 128K giveaway. I don't have a 128K. I've got a 512 or 512E, but I don't have a 128. And if one came my way for the right price, I'd buy one. But it would be nothing but a kind of a decoration. I can't see myself using it much. Jeez, that flux burned away quick. That was the V2. You have to put more of that on. I gave the guys at Amtech a subtle hint that I will be doing a flux comparison video soon, and I'd really like to include the 213A flux. And let's see if they turn around and say, hey, we'll send you a tube. Or whether they say, oh, we're looking forward to seeing that. And I'll be like, ah, crap, I have to buy my own tube. We got some sponge here. Gonna have to do some cleaning. Any IBM-based PCs that you are seeking? No. From a collectability standpoint, I would love one of the original IBMs. You know, the ones that have the kind of the black frame around the front, sort of thing. But in truth, I don't have the room to put them. I'm struggling enough with space for the vintage Mac, so I'm just not really in a position to do anything PC-ish. I'd love to have either an old Altair or an IMSI or a Kamemco, something like that. One of those original old computers, like essentially like the Altair or Altair copies. I'd love to have one of those in my collection, but of course they're just getting so rare and expensive these days. One of my friends from the Australian Computer Museum Society, Riley, hello if you're watching this, and you're probably not, but if you are, hello. He got himself an Altair, so So I had a chance to actually go and look at one and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, you lucky bastard. The unfortunate thing about it was not all genuine. There were a lot of parts that had been rebuilt. It all looked brilliant. It looked fantastic. The person who had rebuilt it had done an exceptional job. Someone who owned it, it had been a passion of someone, and then they passed away. And then, so this person bought it from the widow, I think. And it wasn't cheap. But he just didn't, you know, when we were looking at it, we were like, oh, this thing doesn't look original. There is one thing that I would love to get hold of, but I think they're so rare that they're only in museums, and that's a thing called a Crememco Cyclops. $2,000 now, $1,600, just needs a recap. That's what they say. I love the way everyone says just needs a recap. How do they know? I mean, if it's working, of course, you could say that, but biggest problem with those 128Ks is RAM failure. And of course, cracked solder joints, and that's just normal for that analog board. But the 128Ks that I've worked on, they've just always been RAM replacement. I did some work on one recently. I restored one for a customer so that they could sell it. And they sold it for over 2,000, I think, or close to 2,000. It's here in Australia, of course, where the prices are silly, and it was in the box. It was a very, very nice unit. It's a very good example, but that's too rich for me. There's no way I'm going to spend $2,000 on a single computer. When you know, for me, there are so many other computers I would rather have. See, I don't have a Quadra 650. I'd love to have a 650 in the collection. I get a lot of Quadra 650s for $2,000, that's for sure. What else? I got most of what I want, to be honest. There's really not that much left that I don't have. I don't have a working LC3. I'm close to having a working LC3 though, so that's something. So I've got an LC1, LC2, LC475. I don't have a 575. I would kind of like one of those. I've got a 2CI, 2CX, 2SI, 2VI, 2VX, 2. I'm going to eventually own a 2X and probably, I've got a 2FX, but it doesn't work, but I'm working on that. 2X, I'm sort of, that'll happen eventually. That will definitely happen eventually. we're sorting it out, aren't we? It's yeah, we'll get that happen. I just owe you a phone call. So, what else? I've got Quadra 700, Quadra 950. Kind of like to have a 900, 800, and 840 AV, but the 950 for me is just, I just love the 950. I wish I had more time to play with these things. I'm at a bad angle here. That is 2 of them. Just needs a recap. Yeah. Dana from Dana Does Stuff, who is not here now. I don't know where he is. I'm pretty horrified, to be honest. I used to make fun of him because, well, not make fun of him. It was just the normal Mac Yak being funny with each other, but. Because I have 3 Mac 2s and he didn't have any, I used to always make fun of the fact that I had 3 of them. He had none, but he has one now. He got a Mac 2 from Jay from the House of Moth, who, as people who, if they've been watching his channel, may or may not know, there's no sneeze coming. Jay got hold of a bunch of beige, which is just ironic because he doesn't like beige. But, you know, he looks at it as an investment, which is good. He's fixing them up, going to sell them. He's just saving up to buy the $1,000 worth of capacitors required to do them all. I just mentioned that I've had quite a lot of trouble getting some capacitors lately, but the ones that I need, but Mouser still have them, so I've just been getting everything from Mouser lately. I don't know if anyone is aware, but the, what do you call it? The SCSI 2SD, for people who are interested in the SCSI 2SD version 5.5 at the moment is unable to be manufactured because the chip that is used in them is unprocurable at this particular point in time. There's supposedly a delivery coming, I think, next month or in a few weeks or something like that. But who knows if it's actually going to happen. Still looking for a K-Pro, yeah. No worries. I'll send my email, Norris, to check it now, but if you don't get it, check your spam. I will check. I will indeed check. No worries. Oh, hang on. Someone mentioned 2CIs. I've got to scroll up. Benjamin, working 2CIs will be hard to find. A friend of mine has 4, only one works for now. Sexy machines are. Yeah, as I've said on my channel several times, the 2CI is one of my favourites. There's nostalgia linked with that. When I first started working in a company that used Macs, the 2CIs were the most powerful computer that we had there. I didn't get to use them for the simple reason that I simply would not have been productive on one. They were given to the designers. I was doing other work while I was there. And yeah, so yeah, really good computer. I mean, and of course, one of the good things about the 2CI was sold. It was a product for years because it was such a good product. They even brought out the 2SI while the 2CI was still available for sale. I have a working 2CI and I have a not working 2CI. And the not working one has been battery bombed. Beautiful condition case. It's actually, I took the case from that and put my working board in it because the case is so good. But I may get around to fixing it, but you know, when I've got so many other people's boards that need fixing, my own ones that need fixing tend to get kind of pushed aside. I might clean up this little blob here after I've dried this mask. And I've got lots of laptops as well. I should always mention the old laptops. I've got the almost all of the G3 laptops. I've got a PowerBook 180, which sort of works. I've got 540C, PowerBook 540C, which actually, Steve, are you listening? Or anyone? Does anyone have the hard drive cable, internal hard drive cable from a PowerBook 540? So maybe someone's got one that's dead or has a delaminated screen or something, and they're just pulling it apart for spares. I really need the hard drive cable from it, the little SCSI hard drive cable for a 540. If anyone has one of those that they would be happy to sell me or give me, I would love to have it so I can get my 540 working properly again. What else? I've got loads of G3 laptops. I've got almost all of the black ones. I don't have the very first one. Was it the Kanga? I don't think I have that one, but I have all of the other ones. And I've got iBooks, and I've got. I really should just do a video on all my bloody Mac laptops sometime. I've got so many of them. Yeah. But, I mean, every now and again I jump onto eBay and I see something and I go, oh yeah, I want one of those. But I've got most of what I want at this stage. I'm unsure off the top of my head. No worries. Cool, thank you. I had it in my head, vague memory, and this could be wrong, but I had it in my head that you once when I told you I had that, you once said to me that you had like one that was dead or something like that you'd be able to get the cable from. It may not have been you though. It might have been someone else. I thought it was you, but it might have been someone else. But yeah, it's all good. It's really funny. I was picking up a computer that I bought from someone a while ago. What was it? 2CX? No. Anyhow, I bought a vintage computer. It was a bit of a drive. It was a nice drive though. Bit of drive to go pick it up. And when I went down there, he had a whole bunch of vintage Macs floating around. And one of them was a 520. And I had a quick look and I could see the screen was delaminated. I'm just like, yeah, no, not interested. And then I just realised I should have just made him an offer of like $20 and I could have got that cable. I could have just said, look, that's useless. It's a parts machine. And I who knows, I might have got it. I just felt so stupid afterwards going, you idiot. But, you know, as they say, some days you eat the bar and some days the bar eats you. Now, I really don't like what's going on with this. I feel like this via is collapsing as I try and clean it. So I'm going to probably just run a trace through to the other side. Break on through to the other side. There we go. She's through. So how big a piece of wire will I use? Is this too big? Yeah, that's too big. All right. I better just check this. The chat's getting away from me. So the Mac Plus about 15 years ago. After that, it was just 3 years ago, and I started collecting. Yeah, I started collecting and then stopped, and actually gave some away, and then came back and started again. Some of the stuff I gave away, I have no regrets. Some of the stuff I gave away, I have major regrets. There's my little hole here. There's my little hole. Just in case people weren't aware of this, just passing on some information. The SE30 is a 6-layer board. So it has obviously the layer on the top and bottom. It has a power layer, it has a ground layer, and then it has 2 more data layers inside that. It's one of the reasons why when you get ones that are battery bombed, you can sometimes get a bit of grief trying to find the problem because of those inner layers. Oh dear, donated a Macintosh portal. What? Sacrilege. There we go. A nice little clean and tidy trace repair there. This is my watch telling me it's time to stand up. No, it's not. It's time to sit down and repair a computer. You don't know. just nice little, neat little trace repair there. Just wasn't at all happy with the way that one looked. I think that one had probably had some, got a lot of carbon scoring here. It had some charring, probably. It does happen around here when these caps start to go bad. Looks like you guys have seen a lot of action. Steve in the chat to finish the line. I sold a Color Classic on eBay in the mid-2000s for a measly $75. I thought they were a dime a dozen. I reckon a customer snapped that up quick, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, look, I picked up my Color Classic, which it's actually a 275? Is that it? Performer 275? I think that's it. I can't remember. But it was a 225? I don't know. Someone will know. Someone in the chat will know the Performer number for the Color Classic. And I picked up a Color Classic for, I think it was $200 at the time, and I felt like that was a little bit too much. But, geez, compared to these days in this country, with Color Classic, $200 is a friggin' steal. $250, that's it. Gave a Color Classic away to a loving home, and I'm glad I did, because that way didn't die in my house fire. Now, your circumstances are fairly unique, Horst, I have to say. Just for anyone who is interested, I will show you this, because this is, I have this here courtesy of Horst, wherever it is. It's here somewhere. I had it just the other day. Where did I put it? Where did I put it? I'm sure it was up here, but I'm not sure enough to say it was definitely up here. It was somewhere. Maybe I moved it. I was just going to show you something that Horst gave me from his house fire, just to give you an idea of what actually happened. But, oh, here it is, down here. This is the winner. Like this one. CPU daughter card. Courtesy of Horst. I'm actually going to do a video at some stage in the future to see if we can bring it back to life. See if there is any life in it yet. This is a max power, newer technology. So yeah, we've got our little dip switches up the top here. So yeah, it's very unfortunate when something like that happens. I'm sure you all know of that guy in the UK whose name escapes me. I apologise for not knowing his name, but that's just how I do things. I forget people's names, so I'm a specialist at it. Yeah, I mean, when things of importance get lost in fires, it's just terrible. This is something I see a lot in SEs that need recapping. See this kind of charring and blackening going on around here near the PDS slot. Oh. Righty. I should actually mention another thing about Horst. The my SE30, which is fairly apt, seeing as I'm working on an SE30 today. My SE30 was from him. It's one of my prized possessions. I'm sure I've told this story many times before. I'm sure you people have probably heard it from me before, but after I got that SE30, it was one of the first things I wanted to do was make a video of it, because I had made a video about a Mac Plus a little while before that. You'll see that video on my channel if you go back far enough. It's one of the first YouTube videos I did, and it was me basically pulling apart a Mac Plus. And when I got hold of the SE30, I thought, okay, I'm going to do the same for the SE30. I'm going to do a pull-apart video of the SE30. Started filming it. Partway through filming it, the capacitor fell off. And that is what started me on the recapping journey. How about that? How about that then? There we go. You should consider adding a 40-pin 600mm dip socket to the Blue SCSI kits. What for? You mean so you can pull the blue pills off or something like that? I have to confess, the Blue SCSIs are a monumental pain in my backside. They're an absolute headache to sell. For several reasons. First of all, because I have to buy all the parts for them. And that can be a pain, because sometimes, you know, like the other day, I just went to go order a bunch of parts. I go onto DigiKey. I've got my BOM, you know, bill of materials, all set up. So I just basically go in there and I go, Blue SCSI, bring up the Blue SCSI bill of materials, select all the things I want, press buy, piece of cake. Sold out of the USB connectors. The SD card connectors, and sold out of some of the resistor nets. So I've now got this bill of materials where I've got 2 parts that I'm going to have to go and buy from somewhere else. So okay, go in and set up a bill of materials on bloody Mouser and go in and buy the whole lot from them. You know, a whole stack of time wasted there. Ordering blue pills, and then suddenly the place you buy them from don't stock them anymore. So you're hunting around trying to find blue pills from somewhere else, and then you buy the blue pills from somewhere else, they arrive and they don't work. And it is just a constant headache. And then I've got to make the kits up. I've got to go get the little standy static bags and go in and make up the kits. And the market here in Australia is minuscule. I mean, I sell, I'd be lucky to sell probably 5 a month. And you look at some of the guys in the US, and they are selling hundreds. And for the quantity that I sell here in Australia, it is barely worth the effort. So I mean, I'm still umming and ahhing about whether I'm even going to keep stocking them. For the moment, I will. I've got more parts on the way, and so I'll at least be selling those. But it's just you know, when I look at the amount of hours that I put into selling Blue SCSIs, and because I want to try and keep the price competitive, I'm selling them for virtually no profit. I think there have actually been times where I've actually lost money selling them, when you factor in all of the, you know, bad blue pills that I've ending up with. So it's I do it more as a service for the vintage Mac community in Australia, because I want people to be able to buy them locally and not have to order the stuff from overseas. But at a certain point, it might end up just being too big a pain. We'll just wait and see what happens. I'm also behind it as a project. I think it's a very good thing. I like the fact that it is this thing that people can actually go in and make for themselves. Any tips for replacing a 68030? I'm guessing that this is not socketed, and you're actually going to have to desolder the 68030. What's it coming out of, just out of curiosity? I do have some tips for that, but you may not like them. Max is here. G'day, Max. Why am I risking? Yeah, I probably should have narrated what I was doing there, shouldn't I? Instead of just whipping this component off with no apparent reason as to why I was doing it. I didn't like how crusty the joints were, so I just thought I'd take it off, clean the pads up, drop them back down again. I like to do that every now and again. It's actually a diode. There's one thing I don't like about an Amiga 500. If someone sends one to me and says, "Hey, can you fix it?" No surface mount electrolytic caps in it. It's like, hey, what am I going to do with it? If I can't replace any surface mount electrolytic caps, I'm not interested. Bought a Rascuzzy, and thanks to Joe. I've got to get myself a Rascuzzy. One of the reasons I've definitely got to get myself one is that I am planning to buy one of Bol's, what do you call it, remake of the Exceed Micro, or the Exceed Grey Micro thingy. I think that's what it's called, for the SE30, which allows you to get shades of grey on an SE30. I'm begging him to send me one. He hasn't sent me one yet. I'm not going to pay him for it. It's not like I'm expecting a freebie. But I don't know. This, I mean, he's a busy person and everything. But when I put that in there, the PDS slot is going to be taken up with the graphics display card, and that will mean that my network card will have to come out. So I'll probably then get the Rascuzzy so I can do the SCSI to Ethernet thing. No surface mount at all in the Amiga 500. God, my nose is so runny today. It must be something. I bet you it's that bloody hand sanitizer that smells like Old Spice. I bet you that's what's making my nose run. Anyone who's missing the beginning of the stream, I went to go vote today, do my democratic duty for the country. Today is federal election day here in Australia. And they had hand sanitizer when you went to go and grab your voting form and whatnot, and I grabbed the hand sanitizer, and it smells like Old Spice. I should have taken my own hand sanitizer, and I try and do that because I don't like other people's hand sanitizer. Some of them smell like oranges, and some of them smell like bloody soy sauce. I mean, it's like, I just like ones that smell like alcohol. I just like the smell of just isopropyl alcohol. So all the dirty voters I had to stand next to. Yes. There's actually, I have to admit, this sounds, this is going to probably come off sounding bad, and I don't want to I'm not politicising anything here, but I do want to just mention, for people who are not from Australia, in Australia we have a thing called the Australian Electoral Commission. They are they're not aligned to any party. They're an independent sort of government body that are responsible for getting everyone to vote and for getting all the numbers together. And it's an incredibly good and efficient way of doing it. I mean, first of all, it is their duty to make sure that everyone votes. So they open lots and lots of polling stations. So literally, I mean, for me, when I had to go vote, it's a walk up the road. It is literally about a minute and a half walk up the road to go and vote. So, there are lots and lots of places you can vote. It took the whole process in and out, took about 20 minutes. There was a little bit of a queue out the front, but it took about 20 minutes in and out. From the time I arrived to the time I was leaving, it was about 20 minutes. And because it's this, national sort of body that look after the voting side of things, it runs very, very efficiently. So votes get collected very well. It's not like a state system that they have in the US. I believe the votes get counted up by the individual states, and so it means that there's much less chance of there being any sort of naughty stuff going on with the votes, and of course it's all collected very, very efficiently. Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that I really like about this country. It means that when we have an election, you are basically looking at a very good indication of what the population think. It's not just the people that can be bothered to get up and vote. It's everyone. So when you're looking at it, you're getting a proper indication of what the people, what the majority of people feel. I always get frustrated with the idea of in a democratic country, people not actually voting, because you sort of think, well, that's, this is one of the joys of being in a democracy, is going in and having your say. Anyhow, that's all I will say about that. Oh, mate, it's apples and oranges. It's already over. I mean, the advertising blackout was on Wednesday night, so there was none of those ads on Thursday. But you're right, the advertising has just been terrible. I mean, and in particular, one independent party, they started their political advertising months before the election. They started it even before the election date was announced, and they have just been going on and on and on and on and on. And I once it's all over and all the advertising stops, it's great. I mean, just get so tired of all that political advertising in the lead up to an election. And of course, one of the big problems is so much political advertising these days, and this is worldwide, it's not just here in Australia, is trying to discredit the other party rather than putting your own, your own stuff forward. It's not like they get up and say, hey, vote for me because I can do this. They get up and say, don't vote for these other guys because they're a pack of wankers, or whatever the case may be. So, that to me, I've always found quite frustrating, because I would much rather hear someone say, okay, what are you going to do for me, rather than why I shouldn't vote for the other guy. In actual fact, I don't say, what are you going to do for me? I say, what are you going to do for the country? I am just one person. I'm not really interested in what you can do for me. I'm interested in what you can do for the entire country. It's the day after the lecture for the next one. Yeah, no. We don't have a whole lot of political advertising here in Australia, just in the lead up to an election. Just to mention to anyone here who is looking at Amiga stuff, are you aware of the fact that you can get replacement, what is it? It's the thing that sits underneath the keyboard. I can't remember what they call it, but the bit that sits underneath the keyboard to actually make the contacts with the keys for an Amiga 500. It's a plasticky thing. You can actually get a really good quality one of those. So normally it's just it's a couple of sheets of plastic with the little metal contacts on it. So when you press the key down, the rubber makes contact and makes the keyboard press. And I can't remember what you call them. There's a name for them. I can't remember. Membrane. Thank you, Horst. So you can buy replacement Amiga 500 membranes, but you can buy high quality ones that are not actually a plastic membrane. What they are is an ultra thin PCB, and they call them, like the sort of long life membrane or something like that. So you'll never have to replace them again. So just anyone who is an Amiga fan, I think, and they have them for Amiga 600s and 1200s as well. I think I can't remember, but you can go out and buy these high quality membranes that are actually a very, very thin PCB. And they're designed to last forever. So, Gregory Brady. You also, I keep wanting to call you Greg Brady, but for obvious reasons, if I say Greg Brady, it might sound like I'm making some sort of reference to a sitcom. So I'll keep calling you Gregory. Where are we? Of course, I could mention all the Batman jokes that my name gets. Just doing this here is probably unnecessary. I certainly don't need to do it on this side, seeing as that's what the other side of that component is stuck to. But I certainly don't want to create a short here. So I'll just get a little bit on there, just to be super, super careful. I've fought many fights that over the years, yeah. I mean, what are you going to do? There's a musician here, I think he might have even passed away recently, I'm not sure. But he was, oh, sorry, I should say a music writer. And his name's Mike Brady. And I mean, it's, you know, it's just what you're going to do. It's a common name, isn't it? That's how it goes. We're getting near the end. I can actually start sticking some new caps on this now. I might just put a little bit of UV mask on that last one that I did. There's some traces there. What is my oldest computer? Oh, far out. Do I have anything? I mean, it's probably... you know what it is now? It's probably the Apple IIe that you sent me, Rudy. Come to think of it, if I'm going to be completely honest, it probably is. I mean, I've got the very first computer that I got, so like in the family. So I got very interested in computers. It's through school and through a friend of mine whose father worked for computer companies. He worked originally for a company called Prime. They don't exist anymore. And then he worked for Apple. And his son was a friend of mine. And so I used to have a lot of exposure to sort of Apple computers through him at the time. But then at my school, the computers that they had were Micro Bs. And that's an Australian computer. And a lot of people of my vintage will remember the old Micro B computers. So anyhow, I really got into the computers. I was just fascinated by them, programming in particular. And then I sort of said to my parents that I wanted a computer, so they started investigating. And we ended up getting one called a VZ200, which is like I think it's the Laser 200, I think was what the other one was called. It was basically a Laser 200 that had been rebadged under the name Dick Smith Electronics, which is an electronics retailer out here in Australia. And so that was my first home computer. Now, I probably got that around, I guess it would have been about 82, something like that, maybe 81, possibly earlier, I'm not sure. But the Apple IIe, of course, is around the late 70s. So the IIe is probably the oldest computer I have now. Yeah, the problem with the bucket ad is, regardless of whoever it's for or against, is annoying. It's just an annoying. The singing in the background of that ad is really annoying. So I found that basically when that ad came on, I was just muting it because it was such an awful sound. I don't know if that was their intention, but that's certainly how it made me feel. Okay, so this is the one I was thinking I might just put a little bit of UV mask on these traces here. Again, just being careful. We're doing a proper job here, proper job. You'll always, always see me doing things the correct way, right up until the point that I do it in a half-assed way. Number one tip on recapping Macs. Oh, that's an interesting. A number one tip. I guess probably assuming of course we're not just talking about, let's say you've never soldered before or something like that, in which case I would say, go out, practice on a few non-valuable things first, so you don't do any damage. Assuming that you've got, reasonable soldering abilities and you're happy taking on a job like this, I would say probably my number one tip is check your work. That's really the most important thing. When you are doing this, make sure you check your work, because too many times you end up in a situation where you might recap it and it doesn't work afterwards, and it's because something that has been done incorrectly. Wrong cap put in there, cap put around in the wrong way, maybe the pad's not properly cleaned, and so then the solder's not adhering properly. What else? The cap being put on a bit wonky, or maybe one of the pins making connection with the trace nearby, which is what I'm avoiding here by putting this UV mask on it. CompuColor 2, no. Showed one of those Dick Smith computers on his channel recently. I wanted one. Yeah, so Dick Smith actually released, I think, a few under their brand name. There was the VZ200 and the VZ300. I've got both of them because, as I say, I had both of them. I had a VZ200 and then the VZ200 broke. And then when I went to go get a replacement, by that stage the VZ300 is out. Now, the original VZ200 had rubber keys. VZ300 actually had plastic keys, so that was a really nice upgrade. A little bit more RAM in it as well. The original VZ200, I think, was 8K, and the VZ300 was 16K. It had you could put a memory expansion module into it as well. I also had a little printer plotter connected to it as well. That it was 4-color, tiny little. The paper was only like that wide, but it wasn't a dot matrix. It was actually a plotter, so you could draw geometric stuff on it, and that was a wonderful bit of learning for me at the time. I learned so much about mathematics and XY coordinates and all that sort of stuff by programming to print on a plotter. I'll have to go back and watch Lurch's video on that. I didn't realise he'd made one on those, so I'd really like to see that, because I learned to program on them basically. I mean, that was really what got me into computers. I was when we had these computers at school, was the Microbees, there was a game on there called Taipan. I've mentioned this in my live streams before. And so Taipan, you used to, it was you on a ship traveling from port to port, buying goods and then reselling them somewhere else. So you're wanting to try and buy the stuff as cheap as possible, then go somewhere else, sell it for an inflated price. So, that was the whole idea around it. But there were pirates and stuff. So it's, I guess, it's probably similar in that regard to games like, what's the one in the Old West? Oregon Trail, that sort of thing. Oregon Trail, and of course even to some extent like Lemonade Stand. I'm sure people remember playing Lemonade Stand. And the thing was, I loved this game Taipan. I really loved it. So I went home and I rewrote it on my VZ. So I just wrote it from the ground up, the same gameplay, but on the VZ. And I remember distinctly at the time telling people that I used to play this game at home. And they're like, "Oh, do you have one of these?" And I said, "Oh, no, I've got another one, but I wrote the game on my other computer." And people simply not believing that was what I had done. They just thought I was telling fibs. Maybe I told a lot of fibs at the time, and that was why they thought I was telling fibs. But they didn't actually think that was possible. But it just gives you an idea of the sort of passion that I had for that at the time. I used to spend hours there on that computer. And it had, you could run it just through a normal TV set. So it had a few colours, not much. It had, in its low graphics mode, I think it was 8 colours, and in its high graphics mode, it had 8 colours, but you could only show 4 at a time. So it had 2 modes of the high colour graphics. In one mode, you could show this 4 colours, and in that mode, you could show the other 4 colours. Love Lemonade Stand, yeah. Are you concerned about the UV light hurting your eyes? Concerned enough that I should do something, but not concerned enough that I do something. It's probably not ideal, and I probably should be wearing some sort of UV protection, or at the very least, maybe putting some sort of UV filter on the microscope here for when I look down. Everything in this hobby is out to kill you. Everything. Okay, I think we're good. Well, I think we're ready to start sticking some new caps on. So I should be able to remember all of these. I think it's just one microfarad 50 volt, and all the rest are 47 microfarad 16 volt. But I will bring up the old Recapamac guide. I've tested UV on my camera, yes. For anyone who doesn't remember that. That was a little bit interesting, wasn't it? Right, so, new. Let's go to recapamac.com.au. And we'll go to SE30. We've got the axial caps as well, I'll do those. But yeah, we've basically got one microfarad 50 volt, and all the rest are 47, that's 10 of them. So we'll do that now. Oops, I've lost my chat. Where's my chat? There's my chat. Oh, thank you. Jay is just sitting there in the wings. He's just waiting for me to say Recapamac so he can press the little thing and make it appear. So I appreciate that, Jay. Thank you very much. He's very good at that. He's very good at that. I did also have an Apple IIe in my growing up. So when I first got a computer, the idea really with my parents was that, you know, this is a fad, it's a toy, it's something I'm into now and probably won't be into later on. And so they bought me this computer, and they didn't spend a whole lot of money on it. Fair enough, I can't blame them. You know, something at the age that I was, it could well have been something that I just took an interest in and then stopped. But I ended up, of course, really getting into it. And then, of course, so did my parents. I mean, once we ended up getting like a word processor on there, they started using the word processor because they're teachers, so they were using it for class prep and for, you know, sort of exams and that sort of thing. So it really did actually become something that ended up getting used by the whole family. And then when we kind of outgrew it, because of course we're using tapes, that we didn't have a floppy drive with the VZ200. We only had tapes. And so they then bought an Apple IIe with the Duo drive in the middle, and the green screen, the one with the swivelly CRT in it. And then eventually for that we got a great big hard drive for it as well. It was called what was it called? DigiCard it was called. Ended up getting that through some contacts I had. I worked for a company that made educational software, and someone was upgrading and they were getting that, so they sold it and we got it for a good price. It was still bloody expensive, but of course once you end up getting a hard drive on an Apple IIe, boy oh boy do you make them a good computer. I wrote software for, like, so as soon as you would boot up, it would just boot straight into a menu of just all the most commonly used applications, and then so like AppleWorks or whatever, and you would just like, so you could press one for AppleWorks and boom, it would just zoom into AppleWorks. So you'd switch the computer on and you'd be loaded up into AppleWorks and ready to go in about a second and a half. You know, because the hard drive was just so quick. It would just go on, ProDOS, menu, AppleWorks, boom, away you go. And so it became, and you know, it just became really practical. And we got a dot matrix printer for it, which, you know, that was the, I think we got the original Image Writer 1. We got an Image Writer 2 a little bit later on with a Classic, because the first Mac we got in the house was a Macintosh Classic. Ended up doing an 030 upgrade to that one as well with a Warp 030. Yeah, I mean, that 2E, what a bloody great computer that was, I tell you. Loved it. And of course more programming on that, because programming was always my passion. What we call coding nowadays. All right, let's try some of this nice smelling Sample 88. Oops, a bit too much. So this is the new Formula Sample 88. So this isn't the one that I was using in my original Sample 88. This is the one where I actually, I actually contacted them and they said, look, can you guys tone down the scent a little? And so they took the tone, they brought that's 3/4 of the amount of scent in it this time. And in my opinion, it's on the money now. It's really good. So let's plonk him on there. I will be giving this board a good old clean in the Ultrasonic afterwards. That will resolve a few issues. We have... I'd never answered the question about the 030, did I? Someone asked me about taking an 030 off. I didn't even look at the answer. Isn't that rude of me? So anyhow, if you are trying to remove an 030 chip and it's soldered in, not socketed in, so for example like this one, I can tell you it is a nightmare. I have tried to do it before and I've ended up causing untold damage to the board. Even when using something like a mechanical solder sucker, or looks at one of those motorized solder suckers, or using wick, just trying to get all of the solder off all those pins is an absolute nightmare. What I do now, and it's only recent, but what I do now is I use a heated sort of bed, what do you call it? Flat thing. It's like a, it's a heated, we'll call it a bed, that, gets up to like 300 degrees Celsius or whatever. Plonk the board on that, wait until all the solder melts, and then just lift the chip off and then switch it off, wait till it cools down. That's how I will be doing it from now on. It allows me to do things like removing a connector like this with literally hundreds of little pins there. I was able to remove this connector without damaging this and without damaging the board. So that's how I am doing that sort of stuff nowadays. Up until I discovered that, removal of something like a CPU like that was just going to be a nightmare. Damage city. Hot plate's a good word. I like that, Greg. Something cleaner today at the flea market for only $15. Nice one. How big is it, DJ Craze? They should put my face on the bottle. I mean, seriously, I've got the right sort of face for a bottle of Flux. Oh, it was a 2SI. Okay, cool. Yep. Yeah. Are your suspicions that the CPU is bad on the 2SI? Because I'm just going to say, hang on. The 2SI is not through hole. Yeah. The 2SI is on top, so you just need a hot air station for that one. I'll take one off after this if you like. I'll demonstrate it for you. So yeah, they're not a through hole. That's just got to be done with a hot air station. So that's a chip like this. Yeah, just going to do this little thingy here with the cameras. What's going on here? Arrange in front. Nope. Let's go to no. I've got to find my camera window. I've lost it. There it is. Okay. All right. So if I just go here to top view, that's these sorts of CPUs. So these ones here, removing these, you just got to do it with a hot air station, and you have just got to be really, really careful. This will focus. I don't know, it's hard to believe. There we go, it's focus. So yeah, you just got to be super careful with them. So I will demonstrate that after this recapping, just so you can see. But yeah, because those pins are very, very easy to mangle. Okay. You guys, is it quite, I think it's the 140 model. It's kind of small. Okay. Put it over the other. Okay, cool. Now I just need a hot air station. Yeah. Well, what I would recommend is if you're looking for a good quality station, but you are wanting to spend budget, is go for the. If my brain had been able to remember the name of it just straight off the bat, it would have been really good, but it didn't. My brain's let me down, so I'm now having to think of what it's called. What was it called? A 10? Does that sound right? The A 10 hot air station. I know Jay from the House of Moth's got one, so he can probably say what the code is. They are a good hot air station. They're basic. I'm using a Quick, and I like the Quick. But in all honesty, I feel the A10 is as good as the Quick, with some added functionality. in that you can actually use it to just blow cold air. I would love to be able to do that. It'd be very useful. When I'm putting these caps on, I'm always trying to keep them straight, because there is nothing worse than doing a recap and then looking down and finding out that one is crooked. Can't be having that, no sir. There's a pigeon. Okay. I'm soldering one side and then I'll go and do the other side. Generally, whenever I'm soldering these, just do the easy side first, and then the cap's being held down while you do the difficult side. So if you're in a situation where it's like, it's a bit cramped. Okay, they all look straight to me. Okay. Oh my god, 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 oh my god. It wouldn't be, it'd be great if there was some sort of little buzzer, like I set like a little electric shock thing under the seat, under the chair, and so that when I'm not, when I'm not showing through the microscope view, like Jay can press a button that just gives me a shock. I'm like, hey. Hello. As far as pigeons go, you're a pretty handsome pigeon, I will say that. But I'd really rather you weren't in here. Is that cool? We're buddies now. We're hanging out. Yeah? How you doing? You're good? I mean, I'm just curious because you're just like hanging around. You're not eating anything, but you're just sitting. Huh? Hey? What's up? Okay. Okay, let's get some more caps on here. I really did use too much flux on those last ones, but that was because it came out of the tube a little faster than I was expecting. Don't need that much. Whatever you put on has to come off. Simple as that. I don't think it'll let me pick him up. If I reach for you. No, gone. I have occasionally, sometimes they get themselves down here in the food and they get themselves really stuck, and I end up going and grabbing them to turf them out. Give my hands a good wash afterwards, because they're bites. Dirty, rotten, filthy, stinking bites. Lice-ridden bites. A 10-826D, as low as 239 and right next to Hacko for 88, yeah. So the 826D is just, yeah. Yeah, wouldn't that be good? A head-up display inside the microscope, and I could just read the chat while I'm doing this. My live streams, my recapping would be even slower than before. Yeah. This is the ugly bit. It was just that was falling apart, so I had to make a little repair. But once I get a little bit of mask on that afterwards, after it's cleaned, it'll look fine. Right, how many viewers we got here at the moment? We are sitting on 41. Hello to everyone. If you haven't said hello, please jump on and say hello. And of course, don't forget to
smash that like button.
Sorry, after I do the smash that like button, it defaults back onto my face. So I then just have to flick it back over to the microscope. Hey, where'd this come from? What is this? This is the wrong size cap. Why is this in my hand? 106. 106. You're meant to go there. Whoa, why are you there? Maybe I dropped this. I should be really checking to make sure I've got the right caps on here. 476, 476, 476. 476, cool. I've got some, what are they? 10 microfarad 16 volt in the 47 microfarad 16 volt section. I probably dropped the container. And those little containers, the little separators, they're not very good at actually keeping things separate. fine with bigger components, but some of the smaller components find their way over or under the dividers. Got a nice little train here, little choo-choo train of capacitors. Yeah. I've already said hello to you, Jay. If you weren't here to hear it, that's not my fault. Oh, God, I gotta sneeze. Scared away a bunch of pigeons. Justin Morgan, do you know for certain if your graphics card for your TCI is functional? At this stage, the way that TCI behaves, whether the card was functional or not, that computer's still got problems. There is no reason that a computer should stop chiming when you connect a graphics adapter to it. Because that computer is at Jay's now, isn't it? I think it's in the capable hands of Jay. I think we're needing to get some spare parts for it. We're pretty sure, we're reasonably sure it's one of the chips on there, one of the ICs that probably needs replacing. But Jay doesn't have spares, so I think we're trying to track down spares. I know I do have spares for that one, but I'm all the way over here. He's all the way over there. I've got some hair or something in there. That's going to be nice. So I have an interesting thing happening, and of course this may impact on my ability to live stream over the coming weeks. We're about to embark on a bathroom renovation. Work begins on Tuesday. Today is Saturday, so it is only like 3 days away. Which will upset our lives a little bit because we only have one bathroom. So once that bathroom has been shut down, we're forced to use a temporary outside shower, which is what I was doing last week, and an outside loo, which we have, but I've cleaned it up and made it all nice to use and all that sort of stuff. So that's going to be a very interesting time for us over the coming weeks. And as I say, it may impact on my ability to live stream at times because I could well be doing busy things. But when we're finished, we are going to have an awesome bathroom. Crapping in the chicken coop. Oh, hope not. It wouldn't be that much of an issue if it wasn't for the fact that, you know, winter is coming. And of course it rains here all the friggin' time at the moment. %, over the estimate. We know ours is going to be over the estimate at this stage, only because the builder has put in some, you know, approximate costs of certain things, and we keep picking the expensive ones. So yeah, but we're fine with that because we know that we can do it with cheaper stuff, but we're actually deciding specifically to go with more expensive things. Quite particular about these sorts of things. One good thing is the person who is doing the building work is an old school friend of mine who I have a lot of faith in. I know he's a very professional individual and a very good, you know, he does a very good job. I know that because he did a renovation for another one of my school friends and he was incredibly happy with the end result. So I feel like I am in very good hands. And so I think that will hopefully make things move smoother. And of course, the other thing is a little bit of quid pro quo, not quite the same on price, but I am also repairing a couple of computers for him. So he is a Mac user, and I have done some work on Macs of his before. And I have a little Mac Mini of his here at the moment, and he is bringing me a laptop soon too, which has, I think it has no backlight. I'm going to try and get that sorted, so shouldn't be a problem. Yeah. We're cramming rather a lot into a very small bathroom, but it will be very nice. I'm very much looking forward to it. Looking forward to it being finished, that is. Not looking forward to the renovation process. We kind of missed some of this year here in Sydney. It was very disappointing. It was pretty damn pathetic. Right, well I think that's it. I'll just count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, that's all for the service mount cap replacements. We've just got our axials to do now. And then we'll fire him up, see if he works. If he doesn't, next step will be ultrasonic cleaner. And I will just demonstrate the removal of an 030 CPU, just to sort of demonstrate the process. But as I say, you would not attempt it unless you have a hot air station. You can't try it just with a soldering iron. Axials. There we go. I really wish I'd worn gloves today. My fingers are getting all sticky from the flux. So sticky. Yes, we are near testing. It's that moment where we all wait with bated breath. What's this? Viewer activity. There we go. I clicked a thing. All right. I just need to bring up my old recapping guide again. And no, that's not the recapping guide. That's something altogether different. There we go. So it is a 220 and a 470. 220 for 70. Now I have a thing somewhere for bending these pins. But bugger if I know where it's ended up. This desk is so freaking messy now. It's just been one thing after another. I mentioned before that I was after a ribbon cable, a hard drive ribbon cable for a 540, 540C, PowerBook 540C. This is what happened to my one. As you can see, what's happened is the layers separated, and when they separated, two wires were able to touch. And when those wires touched, they then just melted and created a kind of a knock-on melty. And I had a look at trying to repair it, but I just decided it was too freaking hard. So I just need to get a replacement one of these. So anyhow, so I just grabbed that because it was there. Oh, I found my bendy thing. So let's just change views here for a second. I don't know what has happened. Something has changed with the settings in this. Let me just go to preferences. General. Keep utility windows in front. Even when in other apps, no, don't want that. Clicking utility windows brings Ecamm Live to the foreground. What if I bring Ecamm? Oh, never mind. Sorry. Okay, let me just do this. Nope, that didn't work. We'll go to this, and then we'll go to this. There we go. All right, change to the top view. So this is a little 3D printing thingy that I did, and it's terrible. I need to improve it, but that's neither here nor there. So that's that one there. So this is the smaller one, C11. So the whole idea is we put this in here, and it's just not even the right size. It's just I did a terrible job with this thing. Of course, remember, what is it that I always say? make sure you put your capacitor on so that someone else can read what the readings are without having to remove it, because that's something that I get really annoyed by. So I'm just going to put that there, bendy. Put that there, bendy. Works better for the big cap. So the big cap is there. Yoink. Gosh, you could at least put it in the center, couldn't you, you clown? You buffoon? Where's your sense of symmetry? There you go, that'll do. That will have to do. Okay, so got the old positive there, so I'll put the stripe pointing to negative. Just keeping in mind to anyone who might be new to this game that the old tantalum caps have a stripe on the positive side. Electrolytic caps have a stripe on the negative side. That was something that was brought in to confuse us all. Some weirdo came up with it, and we've been paying for it ever since. Okay, let's solder. And solder. When I'm doing through-hole stuff, no need for any additional flux. The flux in the solder is enough, mind you. Having said that, that one looks like crap. This is the one that's losing all its heat from ground. So we'll do a little snoopity snoop and a snoopity snoop, and we'll just flip him over and make sure he looks presentable. And then we'll do this one. How the hell did that happen? Copper foil tape should fix it. I'm not sure you quite see how bad it is. Nothing's going to fix that. It's, for starters, it's incredibly thin. Those little traces themselves are incredibly thin, but they are. It's not just one that's gone. It's a whole series of them all right next to each other, and I assure you, if it was something that could be fixed, you know, I mean, I'm not saying it can't be fixed, but I'm saying that I think it's probably more trouble than it's worth. Is the Quadra 950 for $575 US a good deal? I can't answer that because we spend different amounts here in Australia. There aren't as many of them out here, so you'll end up paying a hell of a lot more for them here. I would say if you were to get one for 595 Australian dollars out here, I'd say that's a good deal. It seems maybe a little on the high side for the US, but some of my US friends might be able to answer that better. Off to catch up on some sleep. What on earth, Jay? This new Jay that sleeps at normal hours, I'm still having trouble adjusting to it. It's crazy. Changing rooms, okay. So is it like that renovation show? Right, so we've got caps here, we're good. All we need to do now is test it. I need to stick some RAM in it and stick it in a case. And I'm pretty sure I don't have an SE case down here. Let me just check, I'll be right back. I'm not going far, I'm going to take my microphone with me so I can talk to you while I'm not here. SE30, cool. Right here. Jeez, it's dirty. Got to clean this up. Come on, out of the way. So, a couple of things I want to show on this. Sorry about the mess. Sorry, SE30. Should look after you better. This is my SE30, and I do like him. He doesn't have a logic board in him at the moment. Logic board's behind me somewhere, because I've been using this for testing. But one of the things that I made for this recently just recently was this. Just going to do a top-down view here. This little bracket, which you can't see, here it is. This bracket here with the blue SCSI in it, and that little plate there. I wish it was in the colour of the case, but I don't have that case colour. Don't have that plastic colour. So it's got a little thing so you can access the SD card from the rear. There's your blue SCSI, and it's just mounted onto that there. So, yeah. Now, I don't think I have my side camera connected up. I don't have the cable. I used it, it's inside, so I can't show my side camera. What a poo! We're going to have to go with the front camera. Front camera, hello front camera. Now, I'm going to use this, which I found. I had actually put it away. I don't know if someone saw my last live stream. I was looking for this and I couldn't find it. I had put it away. Who does that? Alright, so this is just an extender so that I can test this board hanging out. Now, I'm going to have to put some RAM in here. And I might need some ROM as well. I've got a ROMinator here. Because I don't think the person included the ROM who sent this to me. I'll have to check in the box, but I don't think they did. Got myself a big mess of wires ROMinator. Essential for any vintage Mac enthusiast, in my opinion. These are 1 meg sims. They're these big clunky ones. Oh god, these probably won't even fit in there, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. And click. Click. Oh, that's not it. That doesn't match. It's got to match. So we'll just do 4 megs. That'll do me. We just can find. There we go. Here's the last one. I don't even know if these RAM sims are any good. I hope they are. And let's pop the ROM in. Now, I'm not going to get any sound on this because I haven't connected the sound, but if it does start up, I will then go to the trouble of connecting the sound. But at this stage, we'll just test it first. Okay. Power. 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 Here we are. Found it. Come on. Okay, so we're not expecting to hear a chime because the speaker's not plugged in, but we are hoping to see something come on the screen. So, on. No smoke coming out, that's always a good sign. And there's a screen and there's a cursor. That's my happy face. I have the geometry of the screen of this going right out to the edge, which everyone says that's not right. And I just say, well, it's mine, so stuff ya. USA 950 goes for 900 to 1400. Really? Really? Wow. God, they are desirable, aren't they? Okay, let's get the speaker cable from under here. It's under here somewhere. Oh, God, he's... Come here. Oh, that's right. This is this one, where the speaker cable's in the wrong place. So, hang on. I can do this. I can do this. I can do it. Just. We don't have to hear the chime, don't we? I mean, if we don't hear the chime, our lives are not fulfilled. This is about to fall over, isn't it? I might lean it up against this. Lean. So this computer was pulled apart at some stage, and when they put it back together again, they didn't put the speaker cable in the right place. Whoops. I should just get a speaker cable extender, shouldn't I? I'll make one up. But I haven't, so... Yeah, got a chime. That's the big mess of wires chime, which I'm not a big fan of, but it chimed. That's all I really care about. So sound works. So this one now will go into the ultrasonic cleaning pile. Ow, 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 ow. Pointy bits, ow. And I will, before finishing this live stream, how long have I been going for? 2.5 hours. That's longer than I thought. Before I finish, I will just quickly demonstrate the removal of a CPU for, I think it was for Jake, was it? I think. If it was for someone else, I apologise. I am really, really good at forgetting names. I don't know why, but I'm just really good at it. It's my superpower. out of the way. So over here, this will get cleaned just in my little ultrasonic cleaner, not the big fancy one. Because to be honest, it's this waste of electricity to fire this one up for something this small. Okay. I feel like I got another sneeze coming. Maybe I got the rotor. That's sore throat though, isn't it? It's not sneezing. I do actually feel like my sneezing today is more of a reaction to something. It sort of has a kind of hay fevery feel about it. I'm not someone that normally gets hay fever, but it just has a feeling of, you know, it doesn't feel like a cold. It feels like exposure to something. Zulu Scuzzy people, anyone in Australia who wants to buy one, recapamac.com.au. These are available on sale now. Zulu Scuzzy. So, gonna find a computer here. I'm just gonna get a donor. We're gonna whip a CPU off, or something of equivalent. I do have a 2SI, but I think I may have already taken the chip off. Do 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 do. Classic SE. Oh, that's that SE that I mauled. That was fun. I don't even remember if I did that on live, but it was fun. SI. Where are you, Mr. SI? That looks SI-ish. It is. And it has already had the CPU taken off. So we'll take it off again. Yeah, 2SI. Just checking to see. Oh, is Peter here? Hello, Peter. How are you? Okay. Right, okay, so we're going to jump across to the microscope view here. When it comes to taking a chip like this off, as I say, you would not attempt to do this with... God, look at all the broken traces around here. Anyhow, you wouldn't attempt to do this with just a soldering iron. There's just no way you can do it. You have to have a hot air station because you need to be able to get all of these pins hot at the same time. Now, in a perfect world, what you would have is you would have an attachment for your hot air station that blows air out in 4 little jets of air around it. You can get them. They're like their little square thing that you stick on the front of your hot air station. I don't have one of those, so I won't be using one of those. So I'll just be relying on getting the whole area nice and hot. Now, one of the things you can do to make this a little bit easier for getting it off is if you have low temperature solder, you can go in and add some low temperature solder into the normal solder. I don't have it, but I'm just demonstrating now adding, you know, sort of some new solder in with the old solder. That can sometimes help, you know, getting that in there. The other thing is, of course, lots of flux. You want to make sure you've got plenty of flux all around. That will help with that solder getting all fluidy and melty, and then you've got a better chance of getting it off. So, applying some heat, being very, very careful, because in particular, if you want to put the chip back on, you don't want to bend any pins. But if you're going to replace it with another chip, so we're just going to get some heat, just working our way around. It's a little bit hard to see with the microscope, so I might just top view it here for a sec, because what I'm doing is I am just working my way around like this, just getting it hot. Make sure you put some heat shield around your things you don't want to melt. I don't really care on this one. I'm just working my way around, and then what I would generally do is I'll have my pair of tweezers on the side here. I just nudge it every now and again to see if it's moving. Don't try and move it until the whole thing can move, because otherwise you can get like half it coming up and then you can get torn pads. And what will essentially end up happening is the board will get hot, the component will get hot, and it'll be hot enough to actually hold it at a point, a melting point for the solder. It could take a while depending on the quality of your hot air station. Feel it starting to move now. Okay, and then what I try and do is I usually hold it up like that until the solder solidifies again. Because if you just nudge it out of the way, it sometimes resolders itself to some of the other pins. But if you lift it up like that and hold it in that position till that solder's hard again, then you can let it drop down and then you can just move it nice and gently if you need to. So just got to be careful. You can use one of these things if you want that does these little suction-y thing. You can suction to lift it off if you want to protect the pins. So that's the removal of that. Okay. Okay, so that's it. Yeah, CPU is off there now. Then, of course, the most important thing is we will just jump across to the scope view if you are then planning to replace it. If you're going to put the same one back on, obviously we need to do a bit of cleaning. If you're going to put a new CPU on, we've got to get all of these pads looking shipshape. So I would go in with again with a good flux. I would get some solder. I'll give these all a good rub. Keep in mind this is one of my donor boards, so it's in pretty poor condition. So, you know, expectations low. Melting the battery holder there. You know, that's what we like to do. Okay, I have got some of the most interesting. Well, it looks like we've lost a pad there. Yep, gone. It's not one that goes to anything, so it doesn't really matter. And then, you know, as I mentioned before, this CPU has come off before, so you know, there's oh, as you can see, it's been tortured. That's why all these pads are coming up. This poor thing, this poor board, relegated to donor board, giving its life so that other computers may live. A lot of these computers around the same time shared quite a lot of components. So this is one that, you know, you can use to repair not just 2SIs. For example, the 2SI uses the same sound chip as is on the Macintosh Portable and also on the Classic. So and the 2CI. So, you know, you do have the ability to share these parts around. And I think the chip on Justin's 2CI that we think might be giving him grief with his graphics, I'm pretty sure the 2SI shares the same chip of that as well. So don't ask me what it is, I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure it's the same one. It's one of these ones. Hey, where's my toothbrush? Yeah. Don't forget your toothbrush. Oh, okay. Joe's put out the word. If you really want to get into sort of recapping as well, let me know, Joe. I mean, I have people often asking who, you know, to do repairs, and obviously I know there's Steve, but Steve doesn't really have a lot of time to dedicate to doing recapping. So if you're looking for a bit of recapping work, just let me know and send some folks your way. Okay, so We get all these pads nice and clean. I know some of these are mangled up. This has basically had a lot of corrosion on it, this board. That's one of the reasons why it's a donor board. But we get these pads as clean as possible, ready to put the new chip back on. When it comes to the chip itself, if you're wanting to clean it up, I'm going to put it, here it is. Just going to put him in this little cradly thing to hold him still while I do stuff to it. Get in there, thank you. What are you doing to me? Who does he think he is? There we go. Okay, get this in, held in nice and tight, and then we can give some attention to these pins. If you're wanting to put a chip like this back on, we need to make sure we get all these pins looking nice and shiny on the bottom, all ready to accept fresh solder. Whoops, got some plastic on there, melted plastic. Off you come. RBV chip, there we go. Can recap with the best of them. Specialise in SE30 and Colour Classic mostly because those are the chassis I have for testing. Do you take a crack at 2FX 16 meg sim with battery damage? Ooh, I've got one of them here at the moment. It fills me with dread. It is just such a shame with the 2FX, with the two batteries there. 2FXs with battery damage can end up being very damaged. This one is in such a mess. Look at the state of the pins on this. They're all over the shop. I have to admit, if this was a genuine repair, I would put a new chip on. I just think these pins are just so mangled. You know, a chip with nice uniform pins is so much easier to put back on. Come on, you. Oops, I just dropped something. Hope it wasn't important. Anyone else here seen the film The Northman? I watched it the other night. Took 2 goes though, I fell asleep the first time. Itchy nose. I feel like I'm just going to lose interest in this chip, seeing as it's not actually a repair. I was just going to demonstrate the steps I take for putting it back on, but it is in such a terrible state. I'm not even sure I should. But I will just mention, when it comes time to putting the chip back on, assuming of course we were using a chip that didn't have pins that were just mangled, Um, there we go, that way around. Typically what I would do is I would line these up as best as I can. And what I would then do is solder like one pin in a corner, maybe this guy. Like maybe solder this one. This one's a bad example because he's so mangled. You don't want the first one to go down to be a mangled one. But yeah, solder one pin down there. And then I flip them around and I solder one pin in the opposite corner up here. And so you have it basically tacked down in each corner, and then I work my way along soldering the other pins. I find that's just the best way to do it. So tack down in one corner, tack down in another corner, and then work your way across the others. Use ample amount of flux when you are soldering one like this on, and just be very, very gentle, because it's very easy to, as you're moving the iron around, to bend those pins sideways. So come in with the iron, come in with the iron from that angle rather than sliding that way sideways, because if you do sideways you might bend those pins sideways. So if you run it up and down this way, so like that, boom, 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 you'll probably have better luck with it. So anyhow, I hope it goes well. I know that wasn't the best demonstration, but I really should have probably picked one where the chip was in slightly better condition. It would have probably worked better and hadn't been removed before. So I should have maybe just done this chip here. Is this the one that's on the 2CI, or is it? No, that's the SCSI chip. Anyhow, doesn't matter. Okay, so I think I will probably start wrapping things up now. I've got a few other things to get done today. Whoops. Just about heard the intro there again. I will just quickly check the chat here. Oops. How are you stabilizing that chip? Sorry, I was using one of these. So this is one of these little clamps for when if you're reballing a ball grid array chip or a BGA chip. It's a little clamp that you can just clamp little chips into like that. So it's a little vice type thing with two little corner pieces on it, there like that, and then it just opens out like that. You can put different size chips in it. It goes down to quite a small size too. This one here goes all the way down to that size, so you can stick quite small chips in there. A really, really, really handy thing to have. Now the problem is, after buying this, I have never been able to find this one again. It's not to say that it's not out there, and it's not to say that you can't get it. I just haven't been able to find it. So I know, because I was trying to recommend this to Jay from the House of Moth, and he was trying to find them, but everyone that he got, they didn't go as closed as this one did. So there was a particular small chip that we needed to put in there, and they didn't go small enough for holding that little tiny chip. All the other ones, they were much bigger. They were for much bigger chips. So anyhow, it's a very handy little thing to have. If I do ever find links to it, I will put them in the thingy, in my thingy, description thingy. Okay, so just checking chat. Okay, all right. Stop telling me to do updates. I don't want to do updates. So I will just do one last reminder to everyone to please
Smash that like button.
Okay, so, all right. I will say thank you to everyone for joining, to everyone who is still watching here, and I apologise if you were sort of in for another few hours, but as I say, I've got plenty of other things to get done today, unfortunately. Much more boring things than this, I'm afraid. I would much rather just keep doing this, but that's life. So thank you everyone for joining me. Thank you for keeping me company while I've been doing this stuff. I always appreciate your company. Thanks for keeping the chat interesting and active. And I hope to see you at the next one, which will, fingers crossed, maybe later this week or next week. But thank you, and I will... oh God, I've got to find the button, get it all set up here. There we are. Thank you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye now.